Wow, 2 videos about movies in a row. What is this, Christmas? No, it's hell. Prepare to watch my 5-hour-long video essay on how the greatest movie of all time is actually 2011's The Three Musketeers. The film has Christoph Waltz and Mads Mikkelsen acting together in the same scene and still manages to be a terrible film. I highly recommend it, as I would recommend watching Laid in America, or as it should be called, Getting Laid in America, or lay off, Mom. I'll clean my room when I feel like it. Laid in America is a film starring YouTubers, at the time at least, KSI and Kappa, released during one of the calendar years, probably, and it was written by who knows and who cares. We might get to them later, but don't pretend like you care. I wasn't kidding before. I actually do recommend watching this movie, and not just because it's so bad it's funny. I do think this movie is interesting and somewhat worth your time, with various outstanding exceptions. Lord above. Outstanding? Today's sponsor. One final one to round out the year. Boxu. Don't know what Boxu is? Watch more of my videos. They are a subscription service that delivers boxes of premium Japanese snacks every month, with each one after your first being based off a theme that determines the type of snacks and the ingredients that you receive. If you get snacks you like, you can order more of that specific one on Boxu's website, where you can also see their previous monthly themes. The snacks come from all around Japan. It comes with a little booklet that describes pretty much everything I just said to you, but with pictures. What am I even doing here? It's a grand old time. Christmas is coming up, or more aptly, has already come up because I'm slow as hell, but still a great time to secure a subscription, especially as a gift. Use my code Kappa10 to get 10% off your subscription, and if you're in America, when you do so, you're given the chance to win a pair of tickets to Japan. Learn more in the link below or the comment. Usually the best part of watching movies is the watching part. Nuts. But occasionally, a lot of the joy comes from the discussion they allow to happen, whether that be because of the deep lore, complex themes, the stunning, industry progressing visuals, or other really also equally cool reasons. I didn't hate the entirety of my experience with the film. Unlike the 2 movies I've already talked about, disgustingly shameless plug, go watch them, this movie does not have its potential squandered within the first milliseconds of screen time, nor fail to meet the potential of something that has literally existed since 1999. Wow. The part of this film I find endearing, in spite of all the other parts, is it's basically attempting nothing. The base of it is bland and pointless. It has nothing going for it, and it just runs right off the rails. It's barely dreaming of the stars because it doesn't have enough synapses firing to dream at all. It's astounding. This is basically a nothing movie. It is untethered from everything. It radiates the same energy as a divorced dad without custody. He fears nothing anymore. He's not bound by laws or reality. What surprises does he have in store? Also, yes, I bought this. I bought the Blu-ray, and no, it did not come with the exclusive poster inside. I'm gutted. While the events of the movie kind of sprawl outwards, the concept is very simplistic, as I said before. These foreign exchange students, or whatever, they want to get laid before they leave America. Nothing groundbreaking, but movies have played with the idea before with some success. The success is American Pie. The downside is it's attempting to be a comedy, which squarely places it somewhere around 15 to 35 years too late. If you're as ancient as I am, you may have noticed a trend among comedy movies that somewhat veered away from the excessive amount of raunchy teen comedies, a la American Pie, Not Another Teen Movie, American Pie 2, etc. This is most likely because those movies kind of sucked. The problem with copying American Pie is that everyone else did it worse. They just sucked. They sucked. You flood the market with cheaper, less interesting, less funny movies, the genre dies. It's how it works. Despite how unhinged this movie ends up being, the beginning is fairly good, conceptually. These 2 students from the UK want to get laid before they leave America, but crucially, They suck at a lot of things. They're like garbage human beings. They're little gremlin boys. That's their name. They're the gremlin boys. The weird part about it is, instead of literally anything else to establish this, they just have the two characters trying to chat up a sex doll. We can stop right there, by the way. Plenty weird enough. You got enough jokes to work with. Even then, the sex doll feels like the movie's trying a little too hard to be raunchy and funny, but it's fine. You know, why do we need, like, another person talking? Alright, we've already got two. We're fine. Scarlett here is trying to coach the boys into being better on dates, being better at talking to women, which boils down to essentially just lying to them. She might as well not even be here, because it changes nothing. Jack sounds like he's about to cry every syllable in a way that I'm not sure is intentional.
I didn't think you knew I existed. Thank you.
And Duncan is beyond describing with the human word. Listen, I'm a modern day poet sinking sweet velvety goodness into your ears, but I can't even touch that one. Also, I will be skipping things if they're pointless, because me covering them by extension would also be pointless, and I get bored. In quick succession, we get introduced to Hairman, Kaylee. That's pretty much it. I remembered her name because it sounds like kale leaf, and I hate kale. She acts as the prime target for the very unsettling infatuations of Jack, and as a result of being the person the main character wants to bone in a not very good comedy, she like barely exists. I doubt I will mention her until the end of the film. Duncan doesn't really care what's going on, or with who, but both of them need to find two attractive women to barter their way into a party. I'm sticking with barter. Sounds sick, mate. Rock on. The party is being thrown by Hair Guy, hence the weird entry fee. While he is a horrendous character that is actually supposed to be funny, he does break out every once in a while into being my second favorite, with lines like, I could slurp you, which is an unexpectedly funny line that I'm going to use in my actual real life as a human being. People like choose to talk to me. How nuts is that? Now, whether my love for this line speaks more to the writing or me as a person, don't comment it. Leave it to yourself. Don't want to know. If you cut out this entire section, or at the very least 90% of it, because it's 4 minutes long, then what we have left is actually the entire premise of the film and every character motivation sufficiently laid out in about 8 minutes, which is surprisingly efficient. Even leaving in, like, this keeps the inciting incident contained within 12 minutes, which is still decent. For comparison, Here's All That and The Thinning, that I've spoken about before, watch the videos now, stumble along like an inebriated paraplegic. They only establish the premise at around the 18-minute mark, at which point I'm asleep or dead. If you aren't sure why I'm talking about this, there is a general rule of screenplays that the first 10 pages, which equates to about 10 minutes, is used to introduce the genre, tone, main characters, their traits, motivations, what type of theme the movie is playing with, if it has one, what type of world this is, and crucially what the hook of the movie is. But then that gets the plot moving. Movies with incredibly solid scripts often stick to this rule very well. It's generally what you're supposed to be aiming for. It's very safe. It allows you to immediately get into your story while also having enough time at the start of the film. Doesn't feel like a giant exposition dump. Or you could just have scrolling text. If it works, man. I don't make the rules. So in that way, the movie's looking pretty solid so far. The acting kinda sucks. Some of the shots look a little weird. Only a handful of jokes even border on being funny at this point, and I don't care about any of the characters, but at least someone involved had an idea of what they were doing. And it is at this point that the story starts progressing. Quite quick, like a little too quickly, actually, in very inconsistent directions, which is also kind of why I like it. They decide the only way to get two attractive women, God knows where they would find them, is to use a dating app in an amazing scene where they forgot to include jokes. That's not true, they did include jokes, they just suck. This is the part where it cuts from something incredibly unfunny to the same thing but in real time, to juxtapose the two. And while I still don't find it funny, I can also recognize it's supposed to be a joke, so solid win. The fact I can even tell which parts are supposed to be funny is depressingly like a step up from its competition. Just having, like, any of the jokes be obvious to me is apparently more than what I've come to expect. At the meetup for their double date, however, they get drugged and kidnapped because they entered their income at the highest possible bracket. This closes out the first of 3 acts now. From a movie perspective, this is very strange. It's executed even worse. However, that's from a movie perspective. From my perspective, it's fucking sick and I love it. The second act is immediately off the rails. The point of the plot has been completely forgotten. It's everything I could have dreamed of and more. Personally, when you watch enough films, especially of the same genre, the mediocre ones kind of blend together a little. So, while keeping the story focused and hitting all the marks you would expect from a 3-act structure, you know, that would make it a better film. It would also make it less interesting for me. So I like this one much better. It's also in the second act, we're introduced to Goose, played by Bobby Lee, who can apparently bench press 500 pounds because he's carrying this entire film on his fucking back. There is no point throughout the film where I felt a joke didn't land because of just his delivery. I always got the sense it was just the writing letting him down. He was magnetic in all of his scenes. In almost every other part so far, we've had to deal with KSI or Kappa doing the acting equivalent of, like, loitering. Not their fault. Acting's hard. They aren't absolutely terrible, but they sure as shit ain't good. Surprisingly though, the body language is kind of there. I believe that this guy is a braggart and this one is timid and shy. But much like me on a date, it's the part where they open their mouths that things fall apart immediately. That never really happened to Goose, for me personally. I at least tolerated all the scenes with him in it, but it was when they focused on him that the movie was at its best. In terms of it like being like a film I would watch. There are some premises that are quite cliche in this section, and the writing is barely passable, let alone smart enough to make cliches work. Listen, I'm not saying some comedic fat guy who's usually Asian getting interrupted by his mom is an overused joke. I won't say it, but I will express it through interpretive dance. There are some actually funny parts here. It's just half the conversation has to be shared with characters who the writers seemed to forget are supposed to be funny. And even then, a lot of the work is being done by the body language and Bobby Lee. When I said that this movie loses the plot, like literally it loses the plot of the film, this is where it becomes the most apparent. Because although they get interrupted by Goose's mum, who puts a hold on his plan to take their money, even though they've explained that they're like poor foreign students, Goose decides to go off about an app used to buy drugs that he's making, which I think is a setup before deciding, actually, I'm just gonna leave this, and his mum doesn't stop him anyway, so why was this an obstacle? Why did this dinner matter? What's going on? Goose takes Duncan to an ATM to try and withdraw a bunch of money, and it happens to be at a dispensary, I assume, for the sole reason of allowing for a weed joke. So not only is it really funny, it actually raises questions that shouldn't exist. The Deus Ex Machina that gets Duncan out of the situation is this rich-looking douchebag who gets upset that they're taking like a minute to use the ATM, so he just knocks Goose out. Why is this guy at a dispensary and not, I don't know, it's some strip club or something? He looks like the type. And also, why doesn't he just use the ATM after he does the... who cares? Duncan takes his watch, his car, and gets out of there. Meanwhile, Jack is so... Get slapped! Literally just as Act 2 is hitting the midpoint, another plot development just appears because, like, literally he just shows up and is like, do you want to drive me to this party? There'll be girls there, and then they're just like, sure, and that's it. I'm going to omit this entire section because it's basically like the same as what just happened, an obstacle in the way of getting the thing, and also demonetization, and also I just don't care. Once again, this reinforces my weird love for this film, as at no point throughout this section did I even think what the point of this was, or how the film started, or where it was going. Is any of this who am I? After they leave for the original party, in capes on a Segway for reasons I'm ignoring because fuck you. They have a little fight. Not because it makes sense for the characters, but this is how the second act of a movie is supposed to finish, so yeah, fuck it. Let's just go with it. Oh no, wait. Duncan doesn't have hot women to buy his way into the party. Thankfully, he just used anything else. Like just money. You know, the thing that we use to barter like humans? Crazy. Jack, on the other hand, sneaks into the window and kills the star of the party. Frat boys can't, because apparently they're made of like paper mache and are also stuffed animals. You can guess how the rest of this goes. Blah blah confrontation, comeuppance, make up, make out. Movie's over. Whatever. I want to talk about something here. One thing quite a few movies forget to do, even like massive high budget ones, I'm looking at you, Wonder Woman 1984, is follow a simple setup and payoff structure. Oh, the thing she was talking about at the start, directly related to the end. Oh my god, she's so cool. It's a good way of rewarding the audience for being engaged, and it's useful for establishing solutions before they're relevant, so it doesn't feel like they just came out of nowhere. This movie has way more setups than I was expecting. A lot of them are completely pointless and like superficial, like the principal and his wife showing up in the place, or Scarlett showing up at the end of the film, when either of those situations could have had like random people and it wouldn't have changed anything. The watch Duncan steals off Goose that eventually buys him into the party is specifically mentioned in a previous scene, and where it otherwise would have been a Deus Ex Machina, Goose subsequently showing up to the climax makes complete sense and has been thoroughly established. This conveniently romantic room that Jack and Kaylee walk into was set up during Act 2, to the point where he's literally wearing the jock guy's shirt. The best ones aren't even outstandingly clever, but there has been serious thought put in, because it's impossible for them to appear so consistently by accident. Same goes for the jokes. Most of them I found incredibly annoying and way off the mark, even for 2015. Like these are... but some of them did land, and seeing as that was the intention, props to them. Frankly, I thought I was going to dislike this film a lot more than I did. I'm never going to rewatch it, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't give me the same sense of relief knowing I never have to see it again like I felt after He's All That or The Thinning. It's also not a badly shot film, especially in comparison to those ones. For different reasons, just go watch the videos. Feel my obsession for Blu-rays, please pay me. I thoroughly dislike those films in the same way I would dislike being shot. So anything above that exceeds my expectations, and apparently that thing was this movie. So like 3.5 out of 5, solid first try, some potential there. And that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Have a happy holiday season. Remember to check out Boxy if you want. I've still got to check out The Thinning 2. I think I mentioned that at some point in the Thinning video. Names of the fellas that are supporting me, they're scrolling by. Sorry for making this video so long. It was kind of supposed to be shorter. Occasionally scripts get away from me. I hope you enjoyed it regardless. Goodbye. I'm going this way. Yes, this way.